Welcome to another episode of You Can't Handle the Truth. So it's been a while, huh?
Yeah, how the hell are you? It's been like a month. We haven't seen each other.
It has been actually a month.
We've been traveling all over the world.
Yeah, we've been traveling all over the world. I've been with my family to France. I spent 10 days there. I was at the beach before that, which that doesn't count.
Aren't we so privileged to be like, oh, the beach, yeah, the beach.
Yeah, we are. We really we take it for granted.
We do take it for granted. It's amazing to live so close to beautiful beaches like St. Pete and Clearwater.
Right.
And we definitely take it for granted because other people might not
They don't. Yeah.
have access.
They don't have the access, but you were in Canada.
Yeah.
And you're familiar with Canada.
Yes. So my husband's Canadian. He's from Ontario. So we go to Canada. Right. Well, I've been to Canada a lot, but we've recently started going in the summer because it's beautiful there in the summer and it's not hot as hell like Florida.
Yeah. Neither was France. Despite what people told me, they were like, oh, it's going to be so hot. Like, how in the world can it be more hot than Florida?
I think people's description of hot is very spectrum-y.
Yeah.
Right? So when we were there in Canada, if you're in the shade, you're good.
Yeah.
If you're in the sun, it gets a little hot. But they think it's hot. And I'm like, walking outside and your face melting off, that's hot. Yeah. That's Florida hot. You don't know.
I feel like I'm adequately prepared for hot weather everywhere I go.
Everywhere, right.
I think that's the case.
And when it's something nice, you're just like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, it was actually, we had a couple of days where it was raining and cold and did a lot of posting on Facebook, which is,
kept up with your trip.
Yeah. Well, nowadays, from my age, it's just more for me to remember. Oh, I was there. I didn't realize I was there.
For your dementia.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's early onset. Yeah, no doubt about it. But no, I mean, it's good to get away. I know the last couple of vacations have been unique for me because I have not been checking my emails. And, it's good to know that you got the place is not going to be set on fire and go away when you come back. And,
we do take turns. And,
Yeah.
So that was nice. That
is
it is nice to have somebody to lean on and rely on and not have to feel like,
right.
You're going to leave and everything's going to blow up. And I'm glad that you were we were excited that you were comfortable with it. We were like, he's actually taking off, which is really hard for attorneys in our industry to do, especially when you own your own practice.
Yep.
You've owned your own practice for so long.
Yep.
It's impossible really for you to unplug.
Yeah. I mean, I made a deal one time in the Sistine Chapel. Before we were walking up, I remember I stood around. It wasn't even a big case. It was just something that I felt like I had to do at that time on my cell phone. And, it's a good thing it's good to keep it separate as much as you can. I know it's cliche, but it's good to enjoy the present.
Yeah.
And so often we don't do that. So, but anyway, I mean, we were going to talk, I think, a little bit about, personal injury cases in different countries. Is that what
I think, I thought it would be fun for us to compare since we're in litigious Florida, right? And it's always litigious Florida, that's what I like to call it. And in the U.S., just in general, when people think about the U.S., it's as far as when they think about, when they hear that I'm an attorney, they think about, oh, the U.S. is so suit happy. It's lawsuits all the time, right?
Right.
And so no one ever really, people from the U.S. don't ever really think about if you're in a claim in another country.
Right.
And so I thought it'd be interesting for us to look up and see the difference, or talk about the differences and the similarities between different countries, and specifically Canada and France, since that's where we were.
We were. But how is it in Canada?
So there are some of the similarities. So they have this same statute of limitation as we do now. It's 2 years now.
Remember, 2 years.
2 years statute.
The date of the accident.
And there's actually not as prevalent as in Florida, but a lot of advertising, billboards. And they have clever little jingles on them. And I was actually taking notes of their little advertisements because it's a little different than here. And I was like, well, we could probably use that as a nice little jingle if we ever do billboards.
Yeah.
So I was taking notes, but so it felt very familiar.
Right.
And then, I actually have co-counsel on a case in Canada. I had a client who was referred to me. He got, he was in a Hilton.
I remember that.
Yeah, he was in a Hilton. Yeah, that's right. We finished it up while I was here.
Yeah.
So he was in a Hilton in Mississauga.
Mississauga. What province is that?
That's in Ontario.
It's Ontario.
No, Mississauga. I'm sorry. I mispronounced that. Oh my gosh. My Canadian family will kill me. Mississauga. Yep. He was in a Hilton and some of the ceiling fell in his neck. And so he had to, get some treatment. And ultimately we couldn't get it resolved pre-suit.
Okay.
Or we really couldn't get the insurance company to respond to us. So there's some advertisement firms up there that I'm familiar with. So I reached out to them and they co-counsel with me. We got it resolved. But you could definitely tell their process is a little bit different.
Like,
I can't give you the nuances, but the way they handle discovery it's like almost before you file suit, you do discovery first. That's how it was kind of presented to me.
Not a bad idea.
No, I actually was like,
so you
have that.
So you have like over here, you have to have jurisdiction over the party. Like, you can reach out to an insurance company and you can ask them for things, but generally they'll just say, go fly a kite. We're not there's not a lawsuit. So I'm guessing, there's some, maybe almost like medical malpractice where there's a pre-suit.
Maybe a pre-suit. Yeah. I'm not sure. I didn't read the Ontario Acts or anything like that. Yeah. And the co-counsel, I was mainly like, I handled the client, they handled the case.
Right.
But yeah, that's how it felt. It felt like they had their little like pre-suit requirements, mandates that you had to do before you got into that litigation phase, and discovery was part of it.
Okay.
So I thought that was really interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. And, the other really cool thing about Canada is that everybody has to carry pretty decent auto
insurance coverage. Right.
The minimum is $200,000, where our minimum is
$0. Yeah.
So, and then a lot of people do carry $1 million, $2 million.
And for the benefit of our viewers, we're talking about bodily injury liability coverage. So when someone's at fault, they are mandated to have this insurance.
Correct.
Right? And it's what, 200,000?
200,000 is the minimum.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It is. And I think, and I'm not 100% sure, but it's not really super privatized like it is here. It's kind of the Ontario government who regulates it. Right. So it's very regulated. It's, what we would pay for no coverage is what I call it, just PD and PIP, what, the government mandates here. They pay the same thing for 200 to $1 million in coverage.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you know anything statistics-wise? I mean, I'm guessing no, but I mean, anything statistics-wise that shows that cases are more efficiently resolved and less lawsuits are filed in Canada because they have mandatory bodily injury coverage?
Yeah, so
I wonder what the stats are on that.
I don't know, but I think like just generally the cases settle for a little bit more than, on an average. Mm-hmm. Because, the treatment's a little different too. Like we have to, our clients have to get to interventional pain management or being potentially surgical candidates before you start talking about six figures.
Right.
Over there, you start talking about six figures, like without the need for that. And it might just be because of the access to types of treatment. They have free health care. So some people have privatized stuff, but it's looked at very differently and it's not assessed the same. So, and I can't get into the nuances, I don't know, but it's definitely looked at a little differently.
Well, as we know, the carriers, at least around here, a lot of times, and again, this is fact. I mean, I've worked for the carriers before. I mean, they don't take into account future medical bills when they're analyzing these cases.
Right.
And that's probably why there's so many lawsuits.
100%. Insurance companies all set themselves up for lawsuits. Don't cry wolf, y'all.
Right. And it's honestly, that's probably why. They probably have a more efficient way to handle it. And a lot of cases nowadays are going to be in the six figures because six figures is not what it was when I was coming out in 2001. If you had a six-figure settlement, that was a big deal. And not that it's not a big deal anymore, but it's a little bit, it's different. It's different. So anyway, it's interesting how they have, it sounds like it's similar, but there's also some nuances and differences.
And one of the funniest things though is that they still wear the judge cloak and the wig when they're presenting.
That is awesome.
I think that maybe the wig is only required if they're in trial.
That is really cool.
But yeah, I couldn't imagine not like dressing with any personality in court because as a female, like I love going to court and kind of being a little like colorful and loud because we get that. That's the only luxury we get is
frustrated actors.
Yeah,
non-actors.
Frustrated, we don't get paid. We don't get paid the acting bucks sometimes, but. Yeah.
No, I would totally wear. I mean, probably run for judge if I lived in Canada.
Honestly,
I would like to wear one of those.
I feel like you look great in that, and I feel like the next episode we need to get you.
We'll get one. Yeah, especially for the what do you call me, the boomer? The boomer. Yeah, the boomer of the group. So anyway.
So what about France?
Yeah, and again, I don't have the personal experience that you have, because I was only there for 10 days. But we're not looking to file any lawsuits against people when we're on vacation. But the thing is,
they have to, right?
They have a sophisticated, not that I'm surprised, but they have a very sophisticated injury system there, it appears like. And I'm basing it off of things that I read, but you have a system that's really couched in pre-suit. So they tried again, like Canada, lo and behold, try to get the cases resolved before the lawsuit's filed.
Oh, what? Insurance companies are trying to do the right thing?
Right. Well, what I like about this is that the insurance company in France appears to be a party. So I don't know if the public knows. I mean, we talked about it a little bit. You go sue, Mr. Smith, who was at fault in accident. You're suing Mr. Smith. You're not suing Geico or Allstate or State Farm. In France, it appears, and again, I'm not an expert on this, but it appears that you have liability insurance. It's mandatory, and the insurance company is the defendant. But they don't have a right to a jury trial, it seems like. So what happens is you go to a tribunal if your case is not resolved. But it's almost like a joint thing where, here we represent our client. The insurance company has their attorney.
Right.
And the insurance company has their medical expert. We hire our medical expert, and, they go clash, and it's a battle of experts. Here in France, it seems like it's the same thing, except that it's all presented in front of the tribunal. So literally the examinations are going on in front of the tribunal, the judge. And so the judge then hires a neutral medical examiner to ultimately make the decision. So all you are is an influencer on each respective side. The insurance has their influencer, plaintiff has their influencer, then you have this neutral party, which again, I'm sure that's, who knows? I don't practice this in France, but that neutral party ultimately makes a decision and have a right for appeal. But it seems like the system,
kind of like our arbitration system. Similar to that.
Yeah, and you get a chance to jointly examine the person. There's contributory negligence. There's theories like that, but they handle their system differently. So you're not putting it in front of a jury. You're putting it in front of a judge. How do you think that would work for some of our cases? Like if someone told you your client has. You're going to lose your right to a jury trial, but you're going to get an opportunity to do this. You're going to present your case and take your shot at it and see how much you can get for your client.
Honestly,
what do you think about that?
Honestly, if judges, I'll say that judges knew that they have that opportunity and there's no penalty to them to be ruling on, the merits of the case. Mm-hmm. Then I think that would be phenomenal. And I think we'd actually be awarded much more just in general all the time from that because we bring legitimate claims. Our clients have legitimate injuries.
Right.
We can legitimately show that. They're legitimate treaters. So
I think that's what it comes down to with these cases in France. And I'm sure that if you have a case that's not legit, they probably just get rid of it quickly.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing.
No. And it kind of happens that way here.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of gamesmanship when it comes to how this is played because ultimately, the insurance company pays a defense attorney. The defense attorney gets to bill. So, they're incentivized to, prolong things sometimes. And then insurance companies are also, we don't get to know how they work really, but sometimes they have really bad years and they don't want to pay out anything for those years. And so you just have to wait a little longer. They might be willing to pay twice as much just to prolong it because they've had such a bad year. Yeah. So there's just so many factors in play. And I feel like that makes it a little bit more fair and there's not as much gamesmanship that's going on. And I don't know, but it might make for a better system. I think when insurance companies try and do the right thing, they realize there's a better result. But
yeah, because they're taking chances with numbers. They're allowed. We always tell them, David and Goliath, and Goliath is allowed to lose a couple of times. They're gonna miss a few times, but if they win 10,000 times and lose 5 times, then they've won.
Right.
So this might be a different system. Listen, if you're watching this and you have more knowledge, we're not experts in. Well, at least I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not an expert in French law, but if you know something better than me, let us know because I'm actually very interested. If they have. Now, I'm not surprised. I just didn't know. It's like not knowing. But their system actually, I don't know, some of this stuff is things that I would be interested in doing as an advocate. Sometimes there's cases that lend themselves to a quick resolution. You get it. I'm not saying it's quick because I don't know, but it sounds like it's a little more quick than some of the stuff.
It's quicker, more efficient,
right,
and then everybody's you've got more neutral parties almost.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of trying to get to the same place versus being completely adversarial.
Right.
Which is where our system is completely adversarial.
You're literally examining people in front of everybody. Like everybody's being. Can you imagine that? Like that doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't happen. But it's very interesting. If you like what we're talking about, if you have more questions, subscribe, and leave a comment. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.